journey starts today. You've got one life to live. Love yourself, be kind to others, break free and let your spirit soar. Empower life with Cleopatra will help you awaken the best version of you. Empower life with Cleopatra. Empower life with Cleopatra.
Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the show, Empower Life with Cleopatra. It's so good to see whoever is here. Okay, I've got Nicole already saying hello, but she is not she's not at home, but she's somewhere, but hopefully she will join, even though she's in the chat. Hi, Nicole. Hi guys, everyone. If you're here, let me know you are here. Let me know you are here. Thank you so much for joining. I have 3 guests joining. There's one now, but the other 2 will be joining. So you know what this African network and bandwidth can be like. Listen, while we're talking about bandwidth and network, can I just please speak to the telecommunications industry in Nigeria? Can you guys please fix this, right? It's a shame and a disgrace for the Nigerian telecommunication industry to still be lagging behind when it comes to your internet. Okay, right now, I mean, they joined. Now they've got come off, and I'm sure it was because of the network that's just gone crazy again. So they will be joining. So please bear with us. They will be joining. If you're here, please put your name here. Let me know that you're here. Put your name in the chat. Let me know you are here so I can give you a shout out. I can give you a nice big warm shout out. Who's here? Who's here? Thank you so much for joining, guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We've got Ben here, but I will introduce him when everybody has joined. How's this background? You guys like this nice background? Just so calm us down a bit while we're waiting for the other guests to join. It's going to be a good show today, actually. The topic that we are talking about is something that is long overdue that we should be talking about. And I think, by the time my guests join, and, the 3 of them will really do some justice to it. I think let me just start, really. Let me start. Hopefully, when they join, I'll enter them into the platform. So, guys, like I said, welcome and thank you so much for joining, especially to my subscribers. Your support, honestly, to this show, your contributions to the chat means a lot to me. I appreciate you. Thank you. If this is your first time of joining the show, thank you so much for joining as well. And please, can I ask you to please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell so that you don't miss any single show. If you have any stories you want to share and you would like to be my guest on the show, if you have a product you want to sell, you have goods and services you want to render to the public, please send an email to empowerlifewithcleopatra@gmail.com. If you have any confessions, even if you have anything troubling your mind that you want to get off your chest, or you want to seek solution, and you even want to remain anonymous, please reach out to me as well. It's empowerlifewithcleopatra@gmail.com. If you want to remain anonymous, that is not even a problem. We can, make sure you're anonymous and nobody has to see your face, your lovely face. And for those watching this video later, can I please ask you, always watch the show to the end, please. It helps the YouTube algorithm to recommend the video to other viewers, right? So, we would also like to hear from you. If you have any ideas on how we can improve the content that we're giving you, if you want to see other contents, what contents would you like to see? Just send your suggestions also to the same email address, empowerlifewithcleopatra@gmail.com. So today, we delve into the dynamic world of African cinema. It's a realm where creativity meets resilience. While platforms like Netflix have spotlighted our narratives globally, piracy remains a formidable challenge and eroding the hard-earned revenues of our filmmakers. But there is a silver lining, though. The African Exports and Import Bank, Afreximbank, has pledged a monumental $2 billion through his Creative Africa Nexus, this CANEX program, aiming to revolutionize the film production and distribution across the continent. Simultaneously, though, the Confederation of African Audiovisual Professionals, that's CAAP, is championing the cause of uniting and empowering industry professionals, ensuring our stories are told authentically and sustainably. The question we pose today is, are these initiatives the catalysts Africa cinema needs to flourish, or are there deeper systemic challenges we must address? So stay with us as we explore these pivotal developments shaping the future of Africa storytelling. Now, I have three gentlemen joining us today. Unfortunately, I've just got one for now, and I hope the others will join soon. But let me see who is at the chats first. We've got Maureen. Hi, Maureen. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much, Maureen, for joining. How are you doing? I hope you're okay. Solomon Idio. Hi, Solomon Idio, film production lecturer and researcher at the University of Malawi. That is absolutely fantastic. Thank you so much, Solomon, for joining. I hope you are going to say a lot on the chat today because I need your input because your contribution will mean a lot. I want to hear your perspective, your thoughts on what we're going to talk about, because I'm sure what we're going to talk about affects Malawi as well. So your input will really mean a lot to the show. So thank you so much. Now I've got Mr. Stephen Chigorimbo on the show as well. So I'm going to make the introductions now, and hopefully the third guest, Mr. Madu Chikwendu, will be joining us. So there we got three luminaries in the African film industry joining us. Madu is not here yet, but Madu is a trailblazer in African cinema. Madu is the Secretary General of the Confederation of Africa Audiovisual Professionals, which is CAAP. And with a rich history as a filmmaker and administrator, he has been instrumental in advocating for the rights and recognition of African audiovisual professionals. He'll be joining us hopefully today. Mr. Stephen Chigorimbo is a Zimbabwean actor, producer, and director with a career spanning over 5 decades. Stephen gained fame for his role as John Hune in the soap opera Studio 263. He has contributed to international films such as Cry Freedom and King Solomon's Mines. In recognition of his lifelong contribution to Zimbabwean cinema, he received the inaugural Lifetime Achievement Award at the 2023 Zimbabwean Annual Film and Television Awards. He is married, a father of many sons and daughters, a grandfather of many, a pastor, and a keen golfer. I like that. Last but certainly not the least is we welcome, please, Mr. Ben Omage. Did I pronounce that well?
Yeah, your
I
point.
hope
You're
I
good.
did.
Yeah, you did.
Oh, thank you. Okay. Otherwise known as BIO. He is a distinguished researcher, author, writer, and content developer with a strong academic and professional background. He holds a bachelor's in history and international relations and a master's in diplomacy and strategic studies, MDSS. He's a passionate advocate for conflict resolution and global peace. Ben's work reflects these values. He has co-authored several books and published widely in print, in digital media as well, offering insights on globally relevant issues. Professionally, he's a creative director of Sila Production and Sila Pro Limited. It's a Lagos-based media production and consulting firm where he demonstrates strong creative vision and strategic leadership. It's so good to see you guys. Welcome so much. Welcome, gentlemen. I'm so pleased to see you. And let us get on with the show. I'm going to
Thank you for
start with the
having
first
me.
question. It's good to see you guys. I'm going to start with the first question. Let me see if Madhu has joined. Okay. Right. Okay. Madhu is here. Hopefully he'll get on camera and then we will see his face. But I'm going to start with the first question. So, and I'll start with Stephen, please. Could you elaborate on the CAAP's mission, on CAAP's mission, and how it aims to transform the African audiovisual landscape?
Cleopatra, thank you very much for welcoming us, and thank you for the wonderful, kind words. And hello, good people on this platform tonight. That question, now that Madu is here, could I ask Madu to respond to that instead of me? Because Madu is the initiator, and I can back him up. But if it's okay by you, please, that particular question would be good if Madu can respond to that.
See, because he wasn't on screen, I assumed that he had
There
some
you-
technical issues. There you go. he'll
yeah.
he'll join us in a minute. He'll join us in a minute.
Um,
In
okay,
the
here I am.
meantime, okay.
Yes, it's a pleasure to be with you. What's the question again?
So I was talking about just elaborate on CAAP's aims and objectives, and what we talked about.
Okay, yeah, our motto is protect, unify. The only major initiative to unite the film practitioner in Africa has been Piracy, which Steve and I were part of it. We were regional secretaries, but for almost 10 years now, Piracy is been moribund. So in a sense, you can see CAAP as a successor to Piracy. Even we actually even have a wider reach and a wider spread in terms of our membership and the regions. We have for about we have about 35 countries on the continent with country representatives. So our mission is simply to unify and protect using research, advocacy, and those kind of stuff. But our budget, there are 2-3 key things that are happening on the continent right now. You have the African Audiovisual and Cinema Commission, which the headquarters was inaugurated last May in Nairobi. It's being hosted by the government of Kenya. You have the African Continental Free Trade Area, and you also have the Afreximbank Fund. These are the 3 immediate things. First and foremost, for us in CAAP, we need to work for the ratification by the member states of the instruments of the CAAC, which is a specialized agency of the African Union. That's one of the primary goals at the moment. I mean, in terms of short-term goals. We also need to be able to make sure that the film practitioners have access to the $2 billion at Afreximbank. So you don't have a situation where the semi-Roko continues to try to be a forest. Because so far as we are concerned, if the small producers on the continent cannot have access to these funds, then it's been a failure. There is no point like what happens in most African countries where you continue to give funds to those who don't even really need it. Or where you tell people to go and bring their great-great-grandfather that died 200 years ago as collateral before you can give them funds. So those are the 3 main things we're trying to look at. Apart from the fact that part of our objectives too, we have about 13 federations. We have the African Federation of Actors. We have the African Federation of Film Producers. We even have the African Federation of Film Educators. What we're trying to do is to standardize practice across the continent in every professional sphere and area. So those are our objectives. Those are things we're trying to achieve. And interestingly too, we also partner with events to ensure that our members are able to get the best benefit. For instance, there's a film market in Abidjan from the 25th, 26th to 28th of June. I've been able to secure some slots. We have about 10 slots. And this means that the payment of about $250 has been waived. So these are the kinds of interventions. There's an event in Lusaka. We're also going to reach out to them. Then, sorry?
Okay. Just because we have so much to talk about, so let's just move on to the other question. Ben, the second question, we're talking about piracy. I mean, it continues to plague our industry. What innovative strategies are being employed to combat this issue effectively?
You see, usually, to attack
No, no,
piracy.
the question is to Ben. The question is to Ben.
Okay, thank you.
Ben, yeah.
Okay. Distinguished Mr. Madu, I greet you, sir. Mr. Okay, and my senior colleagues, Mr. Stephen, I greet you, sir. Greet you, audience. It's great to be talking about the subject that's on the burner at the moment. Concerning piracy, it's a great work what CAAP is doing, and uh, I wish that the Afrexim initiative will also go into the security sector for content creators and content distributors as well. Piracy is a long time demon, if you may put it that way. It's long time coming. It's been there in the creative space for decades. It's not a Nigerian phenomenon. It's not an African phenomenon. It's been there globally. Efforts have been ongoing over the years to see how to curb it. Creative initiatives how to curb it have been spinning up. None has totally succeeded. We have half successes here and there. So for the creative, for the movie industry, because there's audiovisuals, there's also print, and then there's piracy covers or permeates in these regions. I would say that the video, the visual sector has tried a lot. They're putting their best foot forward and initiatives. I'm sure Mr. Madu's the organization he represents is doing a lot of work in that direction as well. The markets in Africa needs to ride on technology. That would be a suggestion if you ask me. To ride on technology to curb this menace, because piracy has to be guided by laws to check it. If it's guided, then he can be checked. If creatives can obey laws, creative laws, and if distributors and even consumers can obey laws, then they can be properly guided and curbed, because the innocent ones would want to, use or pay for content and enjoy content, why the ones who are in quote miscreants in the sector want to use for free and exploit the creative mind. So I think that technology will play a new role in the 25th or 2025 and 21st century going forward. To curb piracy, technology will play a major role. Major role. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Stephen.
Yes. Which one do you want me to talk about?
No, this second question about piracy.
Yes.
If you want to add to the first comment about elaborating on CAAP's mission and how it transforms African audiovisual landscape, you can do that very quickly and then answer the second question about piracy.
Okay. On the issue of CAAP, it's one of those very important developments that are necessary in Africa. The biggest challenge we've got on the continent is lack of synergy, networking as Africans. The challenges that we have, which to go to another African country, quite often you have to go out to Europe. That's the fastest way. You go to Europe and then come back. Or you got to go to Ethiopia before you can go to East Africa, or before you can come to South Africa. And then the problem of the different languages that are used as official languages, that is contributing to, and unfortunately it was deliberate, that Africans should be kept separate units in disunity. That way, you find that products from Europe, from India, from United States are common everywhere, but local products, African products, are completely unavailable. The worst part is in the countries, you find that people cannot access products created in their own country. The products are not available, which leads us to the issue of piracy. How are we going to handle the problem of piracy when locals cannot access local productions? It's thank God for YouTube. Now, many are now able to use the platform of YouTube to actually propagate the products. And of course, other institutions like MultiChoice have taken advantage of that and making it available. But you cannot get out there and say, I want to watch so and so's production. There is no facility in most countries where a person can actually do that. You only can see what is offered either on YouTube or what has been offered by MultiChoice. So those are the challenges that we're faced with. And that is part of what we are hoping that with this setup now of CAAP, which represents all the 54 or 55 countries on the continent, we have representatives from each, and we are now in a situation where we can actually coordinate and come up with common policies that to assist, firstly, in the development of production capacity, and then the distribution aspect, because production goes hand in hand with distribution. If you cannot distribute your product wide enough to make at least a break even on what it has cost you, it's not possible to continue producing. So those are some of the challenges that we're faced with at the moment.
Okay. Thank you for that, sir. I'm looking at the time as well because we have a lot of questions that we need to go through. So I would ask for us to keep the responses as succinct as possible so that we can go through the other questions as much as we can. Okay. Um, Madu, do you want to add
Yeah,
to what
you
they've
want to
said
add?
about piracy? About piracy, but keep
Yes.
it as short and sweet as possible, please.
In discussing piracy, is there any effective counterattack on piracy? Is three-pronged. It has to be three-pronged. One is legislation. The second one is enlightenment, and the other one is enforcement. Most of the countries need to update their laws, and what we say update is not just enough to pass a law. It's also important that you enlighten people about this law, then you develop the capacity to enforce it. And in discussing legislation, you need to be mindful of something. For instance, most of the multilateral copyright treaties that Nigeria acceded to even in the 90s and 2000, it was only in 2017 that they were ratified, you know, by the Nigerian Copyright Commission. And then it was only in 2022 that they were domesticated. So international treaties must go through these three phases. The first one is the accession to that treaty. The other one is the ratification, and the other one is the domestication. Domestication means that it's now brought in line with that member state's own laws. And then also, in discussing, looking at YouTube, for example, we find out also that the filmmakers are also the cause of their own problems. Because ideally, free platforms like stream platforms like YouTube should be the last point of distribution, not the first. It should be ancillary. All right. But now you have movies going directly to YouTube. Now, what happens? Like Steve pointed out, not all the countries are not on the same level. People will tell you that the videogram is dead. I mean, by videogram, you mean any device, maybe DVD, VCD, whatever, even a flash drive. Now, but in many countries on the continent, and I'm telling you for a fact, because I've seen it on the West Coast, what they do, they go to YouTube, copy these movies into flash drives and sell them. I don't know if you've come across them. In a lot of West African countries, you see them there. So the films are now available. They don't even need to go to the airport of coming to buy from Nigeria. Again, we're losing millions of dollars in revenue. Why? Because the broadcast licensing market has been effectively decimated by YouTube. What happens? A lot of TV broadcast stations across the continent that used to buy our movies, they just simply go to YouTube and download these movies. So it's killing the industry. So if you talk about piracy now, the producers, by taking your film to a channel that is free, to a platform that is free, and it's global. So someone in Papua New Guinea simply just goes to YouTube and downloads movies. So people will forget that we have market, not just diaspora and Africa. We have market even in Central America, in South America. Brazil, for instance, has the second largest population of black people on the planet after Nigeria. Brazil has about 89 million black people. So these things, some of it self-induced, self-inflicted. So first and foremost, that we must follow the appropriate channel of distribution. I do not think that YouTube should be your first option if you in terms of distribution. And of course, you have we're hungry. I can't wait. I have to eat. Yeah, but at times you need to be a bit hungry so you can eat enough, not to go and eat food or crop.
Okay. Okay. Like I said, let's try and keep it as short and sweet as possible. But I think some other people would argue, you say YouTube should not be the first channel or whatever. But I think the reason why a lot of these filmmakers now put their content on YouTube is because they feel they are not getting paid enough by Netflix or Prime, Amazon Prime, or other platforms, and they can get the same. They can get more money, because it kind of like a cumulative effect because they keep getting paid. The more people are watching it, so they end up getting much more in the end of it. If they put it on YouTube.
These are,
So I think that somebody might say that.
yes.
Yeah.
If, if, these are also issues of going to address that CAAP because basically they have all these slave contracts, even with Canal Plus and a lot of global media giants. There's a lot of inequality and disparity in what they pay someone, say, in North America, in Canada or US. They have a very skewed system that is not in the interest of the African filmmaker. This is what I'm trying to say. We're going to challenge it even in the US, but they don't do these things. And even in terms of budget, if you look at the kind of budget they give you to make films in West Africa, it's not the same what they give in South Africa. And that is funny again. So we're just trying to say that what comes first, is it the chicken or the egg? You can't keep saying because you need it. How much do they make compared to what they should make? I'm not saying that people should not go to YouTube. No. Far from it. I'm saying that YouTube should be the last point, not the first. That's what I'm trying to say. That you should make
Very,
films.
very correct.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. That's fine. Teresa, thank you so much for joining. Good evening. Everyone is fine on this end. Thank you. I hope you're fine too. Okay, so the other question I have is about Netflix, actually, funny enough. So with Netflix growing presence in Africa, how can we ensure that local filmmakers benefit equitably from such partnerships? I mean, we talked about it just now, but how can local filmmakers benefit then?
Okay, if I respond to that, uh, local filmmakers, like Mr. Madu was trying to say, there's a trajectory in distribution. If you're a local filmmaker, you first of all you should do a proper budget for your movie, including marketing and distribution in view. So I haven't done a proper budget. You should know the standards, and that's I believe organizations like CAAP are doing standardizations of production process for their members. So every local filmmaker should be able to plot out a chart of production and know the standards that's obtainable in different platforms, including Netflix, like you mentioned. So when you're doing production, you know very well that this is the type of set that Netflix would accept. This is the type of set that Amazon will accept, and so on and so forth. And this is the type of sets that distribute platforms in Nigeria or in West Africa will accept. You know your target. You know what you're producing for. So when you're done production, when you're done producing your film, then you should know it's better you go with with a distributor, because that's the job of an aggregator. Aggregators will be the best chain because they know the language, they know how to interface with platforms such as Netflix. But yes, it's agreed. I'm sure Mr. Steven and Mr. Madu will agree with me that there's a lot of politicking going on within the landscape distribution within sub-Saharan Africa. Even in fact, it's even global. So getting the movies all the way to such platforms as Netflix, because there are few platforms that can acquire content and pay premium. And since that there are few, local producers should properly budget and shoot what is worthy to be put on the table, so that when your aggregator is interfacing on your behalf, they can talk the language and speak with confidence that your material is good enough for that platform's consumption, and of course global reach. So I think that local producers are not left out, but they should do their homework very well before they pitch their film or pitch their work to platforms that such as Netflix. And I believe that more platforms should come into the fold, not just Netflix. With the world streamable TV needs a lot of competition. The competition will break the monopoly. There's a lot of monopoly in the space. We need more. Even African platforms should rise. We hear about names in trickles, but they don't have the muscle. They don't have capacity to compete with the likes of Netflix and so on. So we need competition. And like Mr. Madu rightly said, YouTube is not the first point of call. It's not the first point of call for streaming, for selling your films, as it were. I agree with that. Absolutely agree with that. It should be the last point of call, but it's becoming lucrative because the competition for such platforms as Netflix is getting really high. So I encourage local producers to also look at scaling up properly, target properly. If you don't have the right budget, don't shoot. That's where I put it.
Okay. Very quickly, Stephen.
Yes, but I'm glad you've just mentioned there that if you don't have the right budget, don't shoot. Uh, that is the biggest challenge that many African countries are faced with. That people make productions out of passion. They overlook the fact that film is high-end business.
Yes.
It's a business which you've got to do your maths correctly. You have to do your research adequately before you even decide to shoot. But a lot of productions, they leave a lot to be desired because they're incomplete. They are half baked. Often, people who have no clue about what directing is, they're there as the director, and they are completely ignoring the elements that are important. Every time I'm adjudicating uh, festivals, it pains my heart because you see wonderful scripts, wonderful stories, but they are half cooked. They are not done properly. There's no way Netflix would accept them. There's no way even our even multi-choice they wouldn't accept that. But you see, YouTube accepts anything, and
Sure.
people when their friends watch it and their friends say yeah, 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 and they feel that wow, this is wonderful. And when a person has not been earning money from productions, and then they go on YouTube because your friends and the like you do a wonderful marketing job, you will receive something, even if that something is way below what would be commercially viable. People think that they are actually being a success. So there's two sides to that, and those are the challenges that we're having to deal with at the moment. And where I think this is the part where Afreximbank is coming in at the right time. That the
Yes.
serious producers will then look for serious money, put in their production such that at the end of it, anybody will be able to actually accept the product and want it.
Okay, we'll talk about Afrexim Bank in subsequent questions. Good evening, Collins. Thanks so much for joining. Collins is a UK multi-award winning filmmaker here in the UK. I'm sure you'll have a lot of comments also, Collins. I look forward to hearing from you, to hearing your comments about piracy and everything else, and the challenges that you face as well. Okay, Madu, do you have a quick point to make before I go to the next question, please?
Okay, on Netflix, well, it operates in layers. There's something that Ben hinted at, which we shouldn't beat about the bush. Now, what happens is that there are gatekeepers, there are cartels, more or less, that have hijacked these platforms. So at the end of the day, you just find out that you can't even get to them except you use one or two, at the most three people. And then what happens is that the films are not even selected on merit. You see, they do themselves favors and select their friends' films or the ones where they will get a bigger percentage. So then the second thing is this. It's in steps. This is why CAAP is existing. We are ignoring the principle of collective bargaining to our own detriment. And it still boils down to new colonialism. You see, these people have never changed. You said they did to our forefathers. They come and use divide and rule. They know there are associations, there are guilds. Should set the standard and say, look, this is the minimum amount. But that's the way it happens over there. There are minimum amounts that you pay. But that doesn't, so you ignore the established structure. And then get one or two people you're going to be dealing with. And you empower one or two people who talk around to. This is not happening. Thirdly, we must be able to find the money to create our own distribution platforms. It's whether you like it or not. Film is a very political. We are talking about soft power here. And so we need to go back to the economics of the continent and say, how do we get funding? You're talking about Walt Disney that has capitalization of almost how many billions of dollars? How will a small company in Hollywood capitalization is up to 100,000 compete with Disney? So we need to set up properly capitalized platforms. And to do this, at some point, you need institutional investment, venture capitalists, even the government. That's why you see a lot of time some of these massive projects fail, because how will you compete with, let's say, a Chinese company that is getting funding, maybe 3%, 2%, and in our in Nigeria, I don't think they're getting for less than 3%. By the time they fund into all kinds of fees, consult and management fees, maybe you're looking at 5%. How do you the same marketplace? So there are institutional issues that need to first and foremost, the actioners must align with the relevant relations as per their profession. So film directors cannot say, oh, people of course belong to the African Federation of Film Directors. And therefore they say, oh, this is the minimum amount to pay a director. The African Federation of Film Producers, all of us are part of it. Our majority of us are part of it. This is the minimum budget. Don't come and give us $100,000 to shoot a movie in Nigeria, because you know that our economies of scale are low. Then you go to someone in Mexico and give him $10 million, and you expect the process to be of the same quality, because you know we're very hungry. You can't go on it. By the time I convert it to Naira, my head will begin to spin. All right. With a $2,000. What you may pay your staff may be less than $5,000, but that is still your staff. The general people may be more recognized on the streets of Lagos than Maleferi. Okay, so these are the 3 4 factors. I'm saying that one, we must align ourselves professionally. I say to people, the definition of a professional is who makes a living from a profession, but not just that. Abide by the code of ethics and conduct. You can't continue to think that, oh no, I don't need to be part of that. I don't need to be part of anything. Let me go behind and deal with it. No. We as an institution, we think they want to say, this is the minimum budget you're going to approve. This is the minimum you should buy. It's all about minimums and master contracts. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So let's talk about Canex then. This $2 billion dollars. So this fund is a significant, obviously, investment. How can emerging filmmakers access these resources to bring their stories to life? Then, are there ways already available for them to access these resources? Madu,
Yeah, it's
quickly.
open site now. You apply, but what we have done at CAAP, we've engaged a consultant and gotten him to take a very modest, just a little amount of money, and then he'll get the rest of it at the back end.
Okay.
So we share this contact with the continent, see what others are happening with him. Because you see, the problem is also hard in the visual industry. You have not created the right partnerships. You must create partnerships with capital and fund, create partnerships with managers. You don't have that training. Okay, that's even in Nigeria. We have funding. You see that people collect this money and go and marry new wives, need a new house, buy expensive things. They don't put the money. I'm sorry, but they don't put it into the business. So, and the friend of every creative, first a business manager and an accountant. So we're building many types of synergies so that can talk the language of Afreximbank. The truth is that most of the time our colleagues complain they're not able to access this fund. But the question is, are you really equipped? You have a watertight business plan. If you say, oh, okay, they say collateral, I don't have collateral. But the truth is that in business, if you don't have collateral, you can get a partner that has collateral. It's like politics, okay? You don't have money. Then nobody believes in you. You should be able to get people that believe in you. Otherwise, that means you're not bankable. So what we have done is to create all these synergies with other professionals so that our members will give them their contact, we go to them, they will guide you through that process. The next level of engagement is a meeting with our president in Cairo. We're working on that. As you know, we're a professional body. We don't have much funding. We're going to have this coming with our Continental Executive Committee meeting. At that place, we now develop a program of action to engage with our president bank. But it's never ever going to be the same story again. That's what we're saying. We want, like what you said, we want this thing to put up to the smallest the smallest in South Sudan, in the smallest country, the smallest country. We want to get employ our money. Otherwise, before you know, they'll take the money as that has been the story of our life.
Okay, okay. I have to say though, Madu, your volume or your sound, not the volume, but the sound is quite distorted. So we can hear some stuff, we can't hear some stuff. So I think you need to find a way of working on that. Stephen, do you contribute to this question about the $2 billion Canex funds and how we're able to distribute it evenly across filmmakers?
The first challenge is that the rules of accessing that money are quite stiff. Most
Okay.
emerging filmmakers are not able to access that fund. So they have to work with seasoned people to come up with ways to access the funds. For example, you must have been you must have produced and a number of productions that have to be at least so much, must have brought in at least so much money, which has got a paper trail, right? And that challenge, it's not everybody who can reach that. It's not really negative because, like we said, the problem with the film industry is it's passion business. A lot of people get into it from passion. They've got to make this production, whether they make it correctly or viably is another issue. So it will separate the boys from the men. That's the first thing. But let's not in any way diminish the serious value that is coming out of the fact that this Canex is there and it's actually reachable, and there are people who have accessed it, and Afreximbank is keen to actually get filmmakers to access that fund. I believe on a small fraction has so far been accessed. But the good thing is efforts are there to access it. The aspect that I think is very crucial also is that we need people who will access that fund to set up distribution channels, including setting up box offices. Want to see the good movies from Zim going around the continent, because in itself, if the movie goes to 50 countries, and in each country it's making just $1,000, suddenly you are talking, you know. And I think right now that's one of the biggest problems we've got. People who watch all over the continent. You see movies being watched from India, you know, Chinese and so forth, but nothing African. So every country can afford to actually watch and pay for productions from all over the continent, but there's no system at the moment that allows that to happen.
Okay, okay. Very quickly, Madu, any comments on that, or you've already, because I think you mentioned something earlier, but you have any comment very quickly before I move on to the next question?
What Steve said, you see, people always say that it is very difficult to get money to make a movie. That is correct. But it's even more difficult to get to distribute that movie. By distribute, we mean a station where it gets to the person that needs to watch it. I know the worst part. The most difficult part is to make money, not just make money from that movie, but to get a return on investment. And this is not possible if you do not have a distribution channel. That is why I spoke about YouTube. YouTube is like bringing the end to the beginning. So you have it properly where you make a movie, you go to cinema. Right? Mind you, if you say cinema, if you look at Bollywood, for example, the cinema must not be a cineplex. It mustn't be. There are single screen cinemas that exist in India, different types that people can afford. Viewing centers. If you expand this system of distribution, then like what happens also try to do, encourage co-production, like what the brother Steve said. For instance, it is going to be difficult to get a Zim into the same in Nigeria. I'll tell you why. Why? Because we don't have screens for ourselves. There are hundreds and thousands of Nigerians that have been made. It's only less than 5% that goes to cinema. Because we don't have enough. We have enough. I have film from Zim, from Zimbabwe, with a mixture of Nigerian actors, South African actors, Francophone actors. We can travel around the continent. That is the kind of formula we are trying to encourage. And in at times, you force the situation. If you have this product, then begin to find a way to sell it. If you don't already have the means of selling it. So we need to. Really, I was a bit worried because if you look at the form from Afreximbank, it seems that they as future, all their focus is on production. But production is just one small part of the process. I think it's really important because, like Steve said earlier, if you make a movie and you borrow money and you don't make any money from that movie, you're not going to make another movie.
True.
Someone looks to make a movie, and then you don't give him back his money. You're backing the issue of integrity. Investigation. So, and then we need to move away from this angel investors and family and friends. And then institutional investors. Beyond that, have production incentives, tax breaks, stop looking at package of our partner that will encourage production incentives. So these are other things, So even like in Edo State, which is a subnational government in Nigeria, they had last year, I don't know if you see it, where they give you foundation, for the foundation, provide security. There are some things like what we're also doing in CAAP. CAAP are in Nigerian corporation. So our members can get production equipment, post production. If you do something, you're already taking care of about 15 to 20% of the budget, which I think from our project. It's not even always about the cash to put down. Again, like I said, it's all about working with experts who understand it. And like Steve said, I agree with you absolutely.
Okay.
And the younger ones, they shouldn't be running faster than their legs. They can walk.
Okay, all right. Let's move on to the next question very quickly. Time is running out. We've got short time. Let's move on to the next question. Training and capacity building are crucial. So, what initiatives are in place to nurture the next generation of African filmmakers? Tim, do you want to answer that?
Yes. The good thing is education in Africa is a big thing. There's serious investments. Our governments and individuals have found education very good business. And there are, in Zimbabwe, there's so many film training colleges and schools and places. But above all, training on the job is the biggest, so really, a young person who wants to learn how to make movies, they've got excellent opportunities. They just have to look for it. The challenge is most do not want to actually learn the craft properly, to do it properly. They want to overnight to become a successful actor, a
Okay.
successful director, a successful producer, without actually uh, going through the process of learning. And on the job, we have serious problems because you get people who go and work as a runner on one production. After that, you hear the person demanding a hefty fee for being a director because they were on such and such a production where they were runner. They had no clue on how it was put together, and they want to be a producer. They want to be a director. Those are some of the issues we are coming across. But certainly, opportunities for any young person who's serious, who wants to actually learn the craft, there are many opportunities.
Okay,
Okay,
I want to add to that. Thank you so much,
go ahead.
Mr. Steve. Um, like you rightly said, education is becoming very, easy with the advent of the internet. Um, learning can be gotten with almost by the click of the button. But yes, I agree that some qualitative knowledge you have to pay for. However, there are basic knowledge in different spheres of the creative process that can be accessed on search engines, if I put it that way, and videos and all of that. But official channels like film festivals have included such things as workshops for people with experts to come and tutor and also exemplify what various aspects of the creative process has, from creative writing to directing to proper production and what have you. So I think those points should be exploited by upcoming people who are interested in these areas. It's important to learn the craft. It's important to also if you have intern, sorry, if you have to emerge in that area. It's important to intern for free if you have to. Then also give your time to grow. Give yourself time to grow, because you just can't, like Mr. Steve was saying, you just can't emerge and kind of call big figures, because production houses and like such platforms like the Afreximbank now, such budgets will not come to you because you did 1, 2 films. You have to go through the ranks, and so that
Yeah,
means you have trained, you have also given yourself a internship. Then
yeah.
you can begin to emerge and begin to have a headway. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Maddie, you've made your comments already as well, haven't you?
No, I've not spoken on training.
Okay, all right. Very quickly then, please.
I think I wouldn't call it a mistake, but there is usually in discussing capacity building, there is a lot of focus to usually bring the searchlight at the front end, the producers, the directors. What about the back end? For us, we are deeply concerned because the creatives need to be managed properly. So, to my mind, we need to also have a robust budget that will accommodate in areas of business management, distribution, projection. This is what our consumer who will handle this. All those areas. And extreme criticism. These things are all important to grow an industry. We don't have to put this in Africa anymore. So we need to train people so that the ones that will write about it. If you go online, you see a lot of things that pass. Dramatic criticism, that's why CAAP. We have the African Federation of Film Critics. So we don't have many, but we set up that federation to stimulate investments, you know, to manage festivals, all right? Because have a program to play, not just for fun or screening. Festivals, the form of this, but that's really a network, screen your film. So we need to have examples the list of things that are behind the camera, not just
Okay.
actually training institutions. Budgeting, budgeting, we have the naira Lagos State Government has to do. Lagos State has to do. So, but just acting as director about the people who make business stick. This was in the golden years of Nollywood. This government. If they were properly trained, they nothing but that. So we have, we need to look at those areas, not just actors. Thank you.
Okay, very quickly. Let me give a shout out to Collins for his contribution to the chat so far. Collins says, for some people, piracy is simply a means of survival, and they don't care if the producer is operating at a loss or not. Unfortunately, piracy is not only drains revenue from filmmakers, but also diminishes the overall quality of the content being circulated. Tene Ellen Williams, thank you so much for joining. And Tene says, Made needs to fix his micro. Yeah, I think Madu, they're talking about you. So Madu needs to fix his microphone. It is severely distorted. Can't
Okay.
hear him.
Yeah.
Yes. So I think I'll probably ask lesser questions to you, Madu, because like I said earlier, your sound is very bad. Okay, so Stephen, so how can we leverage digital platforms to amplify African stories while safeguarding intellectual property rights?
The positive thing about digital platforms is that digital platforms are proving to be an excellent learning ground. People, while they're doing digital productions, they are learning the craft and including marketing and what it is that you got to have in your production so that it is attractive to people. So it's here to stay. We cannot ignore it. We have to we have to actually be inclusive in our production. There are many companies who will say we will not accept uh, TikTok TikTokers and bloggers and so forth. But I think that is a negative way to look at it. We should just accept all those as legitimate films because people are actually surviving on it. They are making a livelihood and they are improving their craft from that. So the issue is that we must accept it, be inclusive about it, and make use of it to improve the quality of work that is made available.
Okay, thank you. Ben,
Okay.
any comments to that?
Yeah. Yeah. Digital platforms can be leveraged for proper and distribution of African content. But I would want to use this medium to call on platforms that pay platforms to not to be very open in selections because like Mr. Mado was trying to say, there are platforms, not just the social media platforms, there are professional platforms as they called it, who take in African content. They should respect African content producers and give African content producers what they are worth, the value that they bring. Because many African producers, yes, are discouraged because they do a lot of work. Yes, they do a lot of work, even with limited budgets. And then they offered very low offers and very strict low offers, if I may add. So I think that digital platforms still remain a good source for promotion of the work, but I still say it's still the last hanging fruit, if you like. It should be the last point in the protocol. Every production should be cinematic. If it's cinematic, then it should go through the cinema. Like I keep saying that in functions like workshops we organize, I'm opportunity to speak on. I tell them that I tell producers that you don't go to social platforms online platforms first, unless they're offering you something good, like if it's a commission job that they are the one that hired you to produce for, then you can go there. But if you produce with your own funds, I think that you should target a cinematic platform first. Do your distribution with a proper distributor within the cinemas. Then you can do what in the chain. I think the digital platform should be last. That's what I put
Okay.
it.
Okay, that's fair enough. That's fair enough. I think Madu is has left the building, but I'm sure he'll join at some point. But continuing them, Ben, maybe you might want to continue this, and then Stephen can join
Okay.
or respond to it as well. What measures are being taken to ensure that funding reaches grassroots filmmakers and not just established production houses, which currently happens?
Okay. Wow. That's like Mr. Madu was saying. The governmental structures in Africa, even the global South,
Mm,
it's minimal. Uh, I encourage the Africans should get legal backup. And like I think I see somebody saying in the comment section, it should be strengthened. Yes, African producers should approach their government. It's true. The government should make available funding. That's correct. Uh, but because government are doing really, really less, not much. It's the private sector that actually coming on board to do much, like Afrexim and the likes. I think government
mm,
should encourage producers. Government should make it easy to be approached by producers. It's a lot of bottlenecks in Africa to access funding. A lot of bottlenecks, a lot of gullies, if you like. A lot of the gulf is
yeah.
quite wide, and so I call on government with this medium to let it to be open armed, embrace producers and encourage them. It's not easy making production, like Mr. Stephen was saying. A lot of producers are passionate. Yeah. So
Sure.
if they do this, then the funding will trickle down, and it will go even up to local government levels. They can get funding, access funding from government structures. But then the private sector can corroborate in that. Then we'll have more qualitative productions. Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Stephen?
Yes, the challenge of getting government to actually come in and assist has been one of the priority issues for CAAP and other film development agencies, because all the countries where film has done well, it's on the back of the government actually creating an enabling environment. We've had countries where the authorities were not interested in the business of film because of their ignorance of the role that film as one of the seven arts disciplines plays
Sure.
in every aspect of the economy. Uh, Fortunately, the efforts of the last couple of decades have kind of given an opportunity for governments to realize that uh, their economies can actually perform well uh, by them promoting the film industry. The other challenge was that colonialism deliberately suppressed uh, the movie industry in Africa because films create heroes, you know, or create people whom celebrities and the like. And the colonizers didn't want to see local people actually uh, build great names like that. So they deliberately underplayed the role of film. Now, the new governments who came on, most of them, they just whitewashed the same constitutions that were put, structures that were put in place by colonialism, without actually saying, hey, this is the future. The arts is the future of the economies, because it doesn't matter which side of industry you look at. Once the artistic side, whether it's literature, it's dance, it's music, has been added, suddenly that area becomes palatable to everybody, and it works well. So economically, it
Okay.
actually makes lots of economic sense for governments to actually create an enabling environment for the development and success of the film industry.
Okay, okay, all right. Let me quickly read. There's quite a few comments already. Thank you so much to Nicole. Thank you to the advocates. And I'll read their comments right now. The
Mhm.
advocate says to leverage digital platforms effectively, we need a twofold approach: visibility and protection. And I think this question has to do with piracy. The very second question we asked about piracy says we need a twofold approach: visibility and protection. Platforms like Amazon Prime and YouTube to distribute African stories, international audience, but on terms that empower African creators, ensuring they retain some rights and revenue streams. So I think they mean when you create your movie and you're distributing to them, don't just give them all the rights. You need there's some certain rights that you need to be able to have so that you can distribute your own movies yourself. It says, but on terms that empower African creators, ensuring they retain some rights and revenue streams. Nicole says, if filmmakers have to wait for the perfect budget and conditions, many stories will not get told, which is very true. And then advocate continues. He says, secondly, we need to invest in robust legal frameworks and digital rights management (DRM) tools that can track and protect content online. Platforms created in Africa or for Africa should integrate watermark encryption, AI-based monitoring to combat piracy. Simultaneously, we must push for policy reforms and content-wide enforcement mechanisms that criminalize piracy, while educating audience on the value of intellectual property. Only by doing both and sharing our stories widely and protecting them fiercely can we build a sustainable global African film ecosystem. Yeah, that
Very,
seems to
very
be,
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, very, very reasonable statements. That's really good. So, all right, let me ask then, in your view, then, what are the key policy changes needed to support and protect African filmmakers? I mean, the advocate said something just now alluding to this, but what are the key policy changes then that you think we need to support African filmmakers and to protect them as well? Ben, any comments?
Okay. Key policy inputs. Um, Legislation. It will begin from legislation. I believe that the legislators in African countries should make laws to protect and secure intellectual property, make laws to create an enabling environment, make laws for African filmmakers and African creative to to find it easy to access funding and for their make the environment good enough for them to thrive in. Secure them, protect African filmmakers, African creatives, uh, make laws generally. So having leaving the level of making laws, then also uh, African filmmakers should be allowed to cross pollinate, if I may use that word, with themselves. You know, draw ideas from other countries within the continent and outside the continent. I think that would help. That would help. I'm gonna leave it at that.
Okay, Stephen?
The problem, the challenge is we have to be careful that you can never put the cart before the horse. It's the horse that pulls the cart. You got to have an environment in every country where filmmaking becomes a standard business, because it's filmmakers who will themselves then ask for the laws to protect an industry. Where there's no film industry, you cannot put in place laws to protect, right? And most of the countries on the continent, they don't have, the first thing is they got to have a film policy. Now, that's what the governments should, the authorities should put in place, film policies that suit their country situation, you know. So you got a film policy. After that, that will encourage the players in the industry to actually get into the business. When that happens, the issue of putting in place protective laws kicks in. You have places where you have censorship, for example. Now, if there's censorship but there's no production, right, what are you going to censor? You know, and people feel, well, we cannot do anything. And where you can't put policies that encourage, for example, investing in film when there are no film producers in that country, where the country is relying entirely on foreign products. You know, so the first thing is each country must have a film policy, meaning after the film policy, they've got to put in place structures that support the development of the industry.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
the process.
Okay, that's fine. I'll ask this one more question and then I'll take the chats. There's quite a few comments on the chat already as well. So looking ahead then, what's your vision for African cinema in the next decade, Ben?
In the next decade, I see that there's an argument for cinemas dying away, that people are sitting home and watching on platforms. Somebody said to me that the cinema is an experience, not just watching a movie or movies, as it were. Um, I see technology in the next decade advancing cinema or cinematic viewing. I don't advocate for well, it's a business. It's still thriving and it continue to thrive. There should be a place for streaming platforms and a place for the original cinema halls and venues. They should not one should not swallow the other, for lack of a better phrase. I think it should be allowed to thrive in the next decade together and improve in the next decades together. Evolve like the way the Western world have evolved. Create more platforms, easy access to payments, and yes, distribution should be more mature. Distribution cheap, should be professional, and I see it going far. I see it going far. But for God's sake, the streaming platform should not take over the natural or the traditional cinematic processes.
Okay, thank you. Stephen?
The problem that we've had on most countries on the continent, and I've worked in many, at least almost half of the countries on the continent, is that when decolonization happened, the owners of the cinemas were the foreigners. And when foreigners left, they went with their business. And locals who didn't have real players in the industry, they didn't have real producers, they didn't have local directors, they didn't have local script writers of movies. So that's what actually killed the box office. That's what killed cinemas. now that the cinema culture is there all over, we now need a support structure that supports the creation of cinemas, the promotion of cinemas, to suit the environments. The numbers that we're talking about now in the areas where people live, and you find that there's opportunities for cinemas all over, but because there's no policy, film policy, that actually promotes the the setting up of cinemas, that's where the challenge comes from. So I would like to see over the next 10 years, each country having authorities, film authorities, who will have as an aspect a part which promotes production, but also an aspect that promotes distribution, including
Okay.
cinemas.
Okay, thank you. I'll take these comments from the chat, quite a lot of them. Solomon Idio, thank you so much for your wonderful insights. I'll just read them one after the other. A powerful and necessary conversation. It's encouraging to see committed leaders from across the continent working to elevate African cinema. Piracy remains a major threat, robbing creatives of income and discouraging investments. Stronger policies, enforcement, and public awareness are essential to reversing this trend. The rise of streaming platforms like Netflix offers much needed visibility, but also calls for caution around issues of ownership, fair compensation, and authentic representation. To truly place African stories on the global stage, we need sustainable structures that support local production distribution and storytelling rooted in our realities. Equally equally important is training and capacity building for emerging talents. Without investing in the next generation of writers, filmmakers, and technicians, growth will be short-lived. This program, amongst others, offers hope, insight, and a roadmap for progress. Let's keep building on this momentum. Well done, ma'am. Thank you so much, Solomon. This is amazing. Thank you so much. And I want to thank my guests, but I have one or two things to say to this, because this has been quite an insightful meeting, and we've talked a lot about, I don't know, we've talked a lot tonight, but I just feel like I don't want these stories to end here. I want us to take these stories and do something with it. A powerful dialogue that we've had tonight that proves that African cinema is not just surviving the waves of piracy and digital disruption, it's rising, roaring, and ready to reclaim its rightful place in on the global stage. Our stories are not mere entertainment. They are the heartbeat of our identity. They echo, what our, it's like they're handed down by our ancestors and the blueprint for our future. But the question remains, are we going to allow piracy and systemic hurdles to dim our spotlight, or are we going to rise, united and unwavering, to claim our rightful place in the global stage? We are standing as one, from the heartbeats of Nollywood in Nigeria to echo across the world, the entire Africa, to say that Africa's creative spirit cannot and will not be pirated. We have to stand up for that as one. I think there's a lot of silo work when it comes to productions. In Africa, everybody's doing their own thing: Gollywood, Nollywood, this, that, and the other. There's only one Hollywood, and America is just as big, probably a little bit smaller, but it's a huge place. But there's just one Hollywood. How is it possible for us to have just one united movie industry? Because there is strength in numbers. I feel that we may be able to, the Bible says a threefold cord cannot easily be broken. When we come together, I think Ben said something similar earlier, that we can collaborate with other African countries and then come up with something really good. But the journey doesn't end there. It just begins with each of us demanding protection for our own stories as well. investing in our platforms and honoring creatives, and respecting fair rewards. I think we've all agreed about that. The fact that what Netflix pays somebody from Hollywood who has a film out, what they pay them is different from what they'll pay somebody from Nigeria or Ghana or Zimbabwe, for instance. And I think we need to find a way of combating that. So if you're a storyteller or a policymaker or a tech innovator or just a lover of cinema, you have a role to play in this billion-dollar revolution. This is our moment to act, to support our filmmakers, to champion organizations like CAAP, who are trying to rise up to do something about this imbalance that we have in this industry, and to ensure that initiatives like the Afreximbank Creative Industry Fund reach every single person that wants it or that needs it to fund their movies. So let's not wait for the change. Let us be the change, because the world doesn't just need more stories. It needs our stories, and nobody can tell our stories like we can. So I just want to thank my guests once again for this wonderful, wonderful insights. I really appreciate you, Ben. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank
Madu,
you for having
you're
me.
not on the. Yeah, you're welcome. And Madu is not here anymore, but thank Madu so much for his contribution. And Mr. Stephen, thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for your contribution for this show. I really appreciate you, Nicole, Solomon, Idio, Collins, and everybody else who's contributed, too numerous to mention. Thank you so much. I will see you next week. Thank you so much, and God bless you. Remember, be bold, be kind, but most of all, be empowered. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you. Have a good week. Bye-bye.
Empower life with Cleopatra. Awaken the best version of you. Unlock your true potential. Empower your mind, body, and soul. Live with intentions, live with a purpose. Empower your dreams, make it happen today. No matter your age, rise and shine. Live boldly, live authentically. It's your time to rise and shine. Empower life with Cleopatra. Awaken the best version of you. Your journey starts today. You've got one life to live. Love yourself, be kind to others, break free and let your spirit soar. Empower life with Cleopatra. Will help you awaken the best version of you.